How's it going, everyone, and welcome to another channel update where I talk about the direction the channel is going in. And so far, since the brand update, I've been putting out videos about this and that, and like why I don't do things anymore, and like why I do certain things. But I haven't stumbled upon, the new direction of the channel as yet, and I've just now discovered. And I've been watching a lot of videos about how businesses are run these days, and some of the more successful businesses are the ones that start off with a why they do something. And I think that's something that's definitely, pertinent to this channel and like where it's going forward, because there's always been like reasons why, but there hasn't been like one singular tie down vision for this channel. So I'm going to lay it out here, and that vision is going to be that I believe that geek culture is not only a form of escapism, like people do play video games and watch movies and read manga and watch anime and even watch sports for escapism. But it doesn't mean that we can't learn, values. We can't be motivated. We can't be inspired by geek culture. And I think that's what I really want to address with this channel, is that I'm inspired by geek culture. Like, I grew up on it. Some of my earliest memories are playing Sonic the Hedgehog on the Sega Master System and watching Spider-Man, the 80s show, as a kid. And those early moments shaped my entire life. And I can track back everything that I am now to something in geek culture, and some IP or some moment or some movie that pretty much makes me who I am. And like, as opposed to like normal kind of mainstream people, it sounds silly, but when you are so engrossed in geek culture and escapism, these things are just normal to you. Like, I normally pick out values from things like Naruto and like Lord of the Rings. It's just those teachings are just there because they're made by people, and their stories, and all stories have some tropes, some ideas, some scenes, some through lines that occur across, many different genres. The values, the motivations, the inspirations are all still there. It's just different forms, and it's like new forms, and it's important. And what I'm getting at is that this channel is geared towards finding out, pointing those type of inspirations, finding out how geek culture shapes people's lives. And on that note, I'm starting a new podcast, which is quite exciting because I miss doing podcasts and talking to people about geek culture and anime and things like that. So I'm starting what will now be known as the Geek Tunes podcast, and instead of a conversational podcast like we used to have on this channel, it will be about finding what those things in geek culture shapes people's lives. Like, how did geek culture shape people's lives, shape my life, shape all the guests that I'm going to have? Why, this generation, I suppose you can call them millennials, why, how we grew up on certain things and why we are the way we are right now, and just how it shaped your life. Like, I'm pretty sure that there are a lot of people out there who decided to become animators because they watched the cartoon, or decided to become voiceover artists because they watched the cartoon. I used to be like a wildlife documentary geek back when I was a kid. Like every Sunday, if you were in South Africa, every Sunday at 6 o'clock, there used to be National Geographics, and at that time in my life, when I was about 8 years old, those were some of the funnest memories that I have. Like, I couldn't wait to come up at 6 o'clock in the evening on a Sunday, sit on the carpet as a little Janus kid and watch David Attenborough talking about dolphins and whales and all types of sea creatures. And I decided at that point that I wanted to be a marine biologist. And that set me on the path to where I am now, just because I like wildlife documentaries. And that kind of shaped all of the directions that I had in life. And then what shaped the person that I was video games. Like, my dad, he was quite interested in PC stuff back in the day. So we had a home computer, which actually wasn't that common. Like, not a lot of households, like in the school where I grew up, parents had computers, because it was kind of like, if you didn't need it for work, you didn't really need to have it. My dad was just interested in it. He just liked looking at computers, breaking them down, seeing how they worked. He subscribed to PC Mag and stuff like that. And because before that we had a game console, we had the Sega Master System in the house. Me and my brother were extremely, like, we found games really fun. So we found ways. We were trying our hardest to play games, because my father he didn't really believe in like spending too much money for luxuries and stuff. So me and my brother would just find ways of trying to get games and to play them on the computer. So I can track back my literacy in actually using computers to trying to figure out how to play games on MS-DOS back in the day. And that kind of shaped, who I am, and then like how I kind of figure out things and why I'm like computer literate. 'Cause some people, when they were growing up, weren't literate with computers early on. It's sort of like later in life, after they went to university and stuff, that they actually do it. I was actually like shocked, man, when I went to university and found out that there were some kids who had never seen a computer until they got to land at university. It was such a foreign thing to me, but I it's probably only because my dad was so interested in computers back in the day that I had, you know, was able to actually be open to that, and I'm quite grateful to my dad for that. But also, like, me and my brother's interest in the computers were because we wanted to play games, and that's why we figured out how to actually use the computer and figure out how to actually run games. So it's just that, like, that's kind of my story, and obviously, like, the story evolves over time with, the different types of things in geek culture that came into my life and how that shaped me. And, I've talked about how most recently, like, role-playing games, I found some resonance with that and some reasons why. And those were basically because I realized that I have, like, certain inadequacies, probably because I was so steeped into escapism in the form of, watching movies, reading books, playing video games. I don't really interact with people a lot because I didn't find that much in common with them. So I have a problem. I have social problems. I have social anxiety. I find it difficult to interact with people, especially in groups. Like, it's easy for me to talk to people one on one, and maybe one on two. And that's why it's like not too hectic for me to speak in front of a camera, because it's just a piece of, like, technology. It's like not too hectic. But I get drowned out really easily in groups of people. So that's why D&D was one of the big reasons why D&D resonated with me, because it helped me boost my confidence and speaking with people. And this YouTube channel itself also, like, one of the reasons I wanted to start it as well was to improve my speaking, so that I can better see, it's not working, I need to work on it, so I can better communicate with people, at work or just socially and every day. So that's kind of what I'm going for with the Geek Tunes podcast, like figuring out how different aspects of geek culture shapes people's lives and most importantly inspires them and made them who they are. So, I hope that's interesting to you as a viewer. It's definitely interesting to me. I enjoy it. I feel like geek culture is just a new step in culture in general. Um, it's not just a fad or anything. It's just the way that a lot of intellectual people are growing up, and even like non-intellectual people, because you can get like sports geeks and stuff, people who get like really really hectic into the inner workings of sport. Um, you guys know, if you're on the channel for a long while, Dope is really like a rugby geek. Like he knows the ins and outs of rugby. It's like some people just watch rugby for the camaraderie, but he like goes into all of the strategic things, and I have no idea what he's on about when he talks about that crap. Um, well, because I don't really like sports because I was reading and playing video games as a kid. But yeah, I think I'll cut it there. This video is a bit long, but this is essentially what the direction of the channel is going to be. It's going to be the tunes inspired by geek culture and seeing how it shapes our lives. And why should we feel like we're outside or outcasts? Why should we be normal when we can be ourselves? And that's the central thesis of the tunes going forward. Stay tuned and cheers.